Post Malone Austin album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this latest from Mr. Post Malone. You know him, you either love him or you hate him. There's usually no in between. Or if you're anything like me, you've had, pretty varying thoughts of, pretty extreme thoughts on Posty over the years. I mean, I remember very clearly when he first showed up on the scene, the August 26th mixtape. It's not good. It's still not good. I wasn't into it at the time, and it has not grown well at all. I did not think the production or the beats or Posty's performances were that good. And yes, he should have done time for Hollywood Dreams. I mean, I hated the project so much that when his full-length debut Stoney came out, I wrote it off entirely before it even came out. I did not have it on my calendar. I wasn't excited for it. And in retrospect, it's a little bit better. Not much, but it's a little bit better. I mean, I like White Iverson, but I thought his songwriting had improved, and I thought the glitzier production absolutely suited him better at the end of the day. Now, I still wasn't that on board with his sound, but Beer Bongs and Bentleys, that's a great album. That album really turned me around on Post's music seemingly overnight. From the bigger hits on this album to some surprisingly very decent deep cuts, I thought as far as modern pop rap goes, you can't get much better than this at the end of the day. I still enjoy the project quite a bit. And Hollywood's Bleeding, which came out shortly after, I didn't think it lived up to his previous album, but I still did enjoy the thing for the most part. Once again, as far as modern pop rap goes, you can't get much better than this. Now, last year old Posty, dropped 12 Carat Toothache, and I was not a fan. I was not a fan at all. As a matter of fact, I named it one of my least favorite albums of the year. I was shocked by the decline in songwriting on this album. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say when this album is bad, it is everything that's bad about modern pop rap, which is exactly the opposite of how I'd been feeling about Post's music. And I mean, there were some good tracks on there, and ironically, he got good features out of people that I've really never enjoyed, like Doja Cat and Gunna of all people. Now, leading up to this album, I have to be honest, I was not too excited for this thing. I heard some of the singles. One of them grew on me, but for the most part, I was sitting here shaking my head. Now let's chat about this thing. This has been the year of the very long rap album. We're going to be talking about Utopia tomorrow, and it's even longer than this thing. But this album is an hour-long, 19 tracks, if I'm correct, and this is a major departure. I mean, we saw it in little areas on 12 Carat Toothache, but this is his departure from hip-hop. This is his pop album. There's a lot of this album that ventures into soft rock and indie pop and singer-songwriter music. And much like some of the other bloated albums of the year, the highs are here, man. The highs are very high, but the lows are also very low. Like Don't Understand here, which is this album's intro. This sets the mood in the worst possible way. There's some really awful shit on this album. And this is exactly what I was worried that we would hear a lot of on this album. What is this fake, just very flimsy singer-songwriter bullcrap? I have no issue with Post breaking out his guitar and giving us a ballad, a nice, tender, sweet ballad, but this track is passionless. It's overly moody, it's way too sappy, and my goodness gracious, the one-liners here. Wow. I mean, I like bluesy, broken down Post as much as the next guy, but I hear this and man, I want to head for the hills. Morning was one of the lead singles leading up to this album, and my thoughts haven't changed on it. I think it's shit, and I think it's probably the worst track here. Now, I will say this. The heart is here. Posty put his heart into this track, and the sentiment behind this track, I don't want to take anything away from that. But the cliches and the horribly corny one-liners. Like, I thought Post was so far beyond a lot of this track, but clearly he's not. And I don't want to be that guy, but his vocals on this track, I would argue that almost every other track on here, Post's singing is better. Too Cool to Die. What even is this? This is what makes this album so hard for me to rate right here. I'll say this. I actually do not hate the sort of throwback, very breezy sort of 80s soft rock beat that we get here, that's actually not bad. That's actually the least of my problems. It's Post himself. His performance here sounds like he wants to be doing anything else, and the cringy one-liners once again. I mean, I don't hate the fact that this is a departure for Post. Artists grow over time. It happens. They try new things, and trust me, there's some pretty great moments on this album. But then I hear lines like, "She wanna fuck me on a jet, but I'm scared to fly." Oh. And then we have tracks like Socialite, which are just boring. Like, this is beyond boring. This is entry level. And you know what? I'm gonna say it. I respect Post for trying something different on this album. Like I said, there's a lot of really good moments, and he put his heart and soul into it, but it doesn't show up on every single track, especially not tracks like this. I mean, this is a very long album, 19 tracks, and not all of them need to be here, and then I hear this, which sounds like Post wrote it on the back of a napkin in 5 minutes. No thank you. But like I said, there is a lot of really enjoyable stuff on this album, like Something Real, for example. I heard this track early on the album, and I instantly woke up. This is an awesome sound for Post. The pounding drums, Post vocals, which are easily some of his most passionate on this entire album, and the gospel choir surrounding him. Yeah, this is awesome. I would take a whole album of this. This gave me the damn chills. Chemical, honestly, I didn't enjoy it at first. It has grown on me. It is very nice. I mean, just realize Post taking a big leap. This is some upbeat, very breezy folk pop. But if you listen to Post leading up to this album in interviews, he said that he wanted this to be just a feel-good, just turn on and forget your worries album. And I hear tracks like this, and I get it. It's catchy, it's breezy, it's light on the ears, and it's all good vibes. It's a solid single, and if you don't like it, trust me, I get it. This is not going to be an album for everybody. The tracks that I like, if you hate it, I get it. But this is the sort of leap that I could actually appreciate from Post. Novacandy too. The very summery, very bright and colorful vibes continue of this album. It's feel good once again. I mean, I don't know how we made this leap. I mean, once again, Post on this track is literally jumping on what is basically an 80s soft pop, soft rock beat. It's a vibe though, and it's undeniably very catchy. And Sign Me Up is one of my favorite tracks here. It's upbeat and it's super charming. It shows Post trying out some synth pop, and it goes over really well. But the good vibes and the sunny atmosphere, they're so easy to take in. The hook here is too catchy for its own good, and once again, Post's vocals, they're really passionate. As you can clearly see, this album is a little all over the place, and it was very hard for me to rate this album, much like, I don't know, Lil Uzi Vert's Pink Tape. But as things proceed with the second half of this album, things only get harder. The highs get higher, the lows get lower. Like Overdrive, for example, as far as a sweet, broken down ballad, look no further. It's one of the shortest tracks here, but I'd argue it's one of the easiest to take in. And I am a sucker for a whistle solo in any song. This one is no different. And by this point in the album, I need a little upbeat track. I need a little pick-me-up. Speedometer is just that. It's got the funky bass riff. It's got some sparkling synths. It's really catchy. Once again, it's all thrills, no frills. It's very straightforward, but it's really likable. On the other hand, I heard Enough Is Enough coming down the pipe, and I almost headed for the hills. This sounds like a country track, or the closest thing you're going to get to that from old Posty. And you know what? I'm going to say it once again. If this is not your cup of tea, I get it. But I really feel like Post pulls it off between, a seriously huge chorus Post performance once again, which is very, he sounds comfortable here, as well as the production, which may be a little too pristine for some, but I think it works here. I mean, you can argue that this is his arena rock track, but I think it works. And I'm going to say it. As far as the deep cut goes, Buyer Beware may be the best track here. I love the swaying riff that we get here, the strong synth usage, and this hook, which is one of the catchiest on the entire album. You will be humming this all day, and I continue to have to tip my cap to Post for these unbelievably revealing and personal lyrics. And I have a lot of the same feelings on Landmine as well. The foot-stamping acoustic riff, the big harmonies. Am I a hipster for wanting to just get up and move to this? Probably, yeah, probably, but I think it works. I mean, if this isn't your cup of tea, once again, I get it, but I continue to just have to salute Post for, at the very least, putting, a real effort into this new sound. This album is a mixed bag. The rest of the tracks on here, they just get worse. Like Hold My Breath, for example. I'm going to be blunt with you all. Like, some of these stripped down bluesy ballads, they are really rough to get through. I mean, if he brought to the table an actually heartfelt ballad with some soul, hats off to you. But this, once again, is so entry level. Like, I don't want to take anything away from the sweet sentiment that this track has, but this just is very, very amateurish. Texas T, no thank you. I mean, I got amped hearing these pounding drums. I really did. But for some reason, he took this moment here to bust out a few rhymes. I don't know why. He sounds very, very, very... I don't know. He just does not sound focused. He sounds out of his element. Not only that, he sounds rusty. And that is not good. I'd go as far as to say it's probably the cheesiest track here, and that's saying something. Green Thumb is really not much better. I mean, one more just stripped down, super tender ballad, and I want to love tracks like this. But I feel like this track here, it's too much of a leap, and there's nothing to fall back on. It's charming and sweet from a distance, but there's zero substance. And Laugh It Off. Oh, I mean, if I'm being real with y'all, of all of the bluesy ballads on this album, this is far from the worst. It actually has some pretty good moments. It's bluesy as hell, and it might be his most emotional track in this vein. If we got more tracks like this, I'd argue this album would be a whole lot better. But it's too little too late for me, and I don't think that he pushes this track far enough. This album is a lot of things. On one hand, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be listening to the singles leading up to this album. I was expecting this to be probably the worst album I'd heard all year. I mean, you gotta commend Post. He really took a big leap on this album, and, you know, there's a lot of really great, catchy, feel-good tracks on here that I wouldn't mind listening to again a few times, but there's also equally just as many awkward, passionless, entry-level singer-songwriter tracks on here that just go nowhere. It's a mixed bag. It's a very mixed bag, which, much like a lot of the other bloated albums of this year, there are very high highs, but there are also shockingly low lows. So, is this better than 12 Carat Toothache? Hell yeah, it is. It's a lot better than that. But as an album, it's just way too much of a mixed bag. I'm feeling like a decent 5 on this album. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.